Hey guys, how's it going today? It's a little bit warmer than what I would prefer, but hey, I'll take it. The sun is shining. Anyway, today I'd like to continue talking about boundaries, and I think today I'd like to discuss how unspoken boundaries can actually be the most effective boundaries that you can have. I think when most people think of boundaries, they think of me, saying what I will and will not accept, which can be a boundary, and sometimes that's necessary. What I have found for me, however, is that most of the time I don't even need to set a verbal boundary because I just act according to my boundaries. Let me explain what I mean by that. I'm going to use a little example that I think is a fairly common problem that I hear in my clients or even in my own personal life. So imagine that I have a friend, and every time that I meet with this friend, I have an issue of trust that comes up. Maybe she has shared my personal business multiple times with people that it's hurt my feelings, that I felt betrayed, right? So many of us continue to put up with this type of behavior, and we'll just let it build until it explodes. Or, we may try to set a boundary, and we may explain to this person why that hurts, and why I don't want you to share my business anymore. The thing is, I think where most of us forget to take the next step or don't realize what the next step is I have given that person the keys to my happiness, or I'm still subjecting myself to what they are or are not going to do, because they still have a choice. They can still continue to gossip about me. They can still continue to betray me. So an unspoken boundary, and I think this is super important, an unspoken boundary would be my personal choice to now not share information with that friend. I can still enjoy that friend's company. I can still do things with that person, but it may not be in my best interest to share personal things. So I don't feel like, even though this seems super logical, I know in my own life that wasn't always the case. I would expect that if I just explained enough of how it hurt my feelings, or if I just was able to convince them to stop behaving in that particular way, then everything would be fine and our relationship would be great. And that just led me into a lot of expectation and then resentments, because expectations are premeditated resentments. So by implementing an unspoken boundary and just being in alignment with my values without depending on anybody else to make choices or behavior that's in alignment with my values, that frees me up and lets them off the hook, really, for meeting my expectations. I can just choose to share differently or have different behaviors around different people, depending on what they've shown me is going to be in the interest of my safety, because that's the only thing I really have responsibility for, is my self-care and my safety. I'm going to give a second example, actually, of a spoken boundary and where that might be appropriate or where I might use that. So I'll give another example of, let's say, another friend who every time I meet up with her, it makes me uncomfortable because she continues to ask me for money. Maybe this is a crisis-prone friend, and she's always needing something. And even though I enjoy spending time with this person, and I would like to continue going out with her, I also really feel like she's kind of stepping on some boundaries for me when she's asking me for money, and that makes me not want to hang out with her. I struggle with hanging out with somebody who's constantly wanting something from me, that's making me feel obligated or guilty, instead of just wanting to freely give out of overflow. So in this particular case, instead of just saying, well, I'm just not going to hang out with her anymore because I don't want to put myself in that position, I feel like in that particular situation, I would want to give her an opportunity, and I would say, it really makes me feel uncomfortable when you ask me for money, and I'd really prefer that when we continue to meet that you not bring that up. And then from there, if she doesn't respect that boundary, then I may have to take the next step, which would be deciding not to spend time with someone who's not going to respect my boundaries. So that's the difference between the unverbal versus the verbal boundaries. I feel that in my life, the nonverbal boundaries have really given me a lot of power and freedom in my life to control my surroundings and to protect the sacred space that I have. I don't have to rely on somebody else's behavior or somebody else's choices in order for me to feel safe, in order for me to take care of myself. So I hope that helps someone out there today. Please share with me in the comments how boundaries have worked for you, what issues have come up for you, what skills have worked for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. I love you lots. Bye-bye.